guys. Um, I've been working on Embeddinator for the past few months, and I'm on the Xamarin.Android team, so I thought it might be good if I took a break from that and actually showed how to build Xamarin.Android and show some of the stuff going on in there. Um, I am just gonna kind of do this live. I didn't really prepare. We'll see if it works. Um, but here's a repo. This is my a fork, but this is what you would do if you were going to send a pull request: is you fork Xamarin.Android under your account and then clone it. So I've done that, um, and I've also run one other command: git submodule update. Now, one of these other steps we're about to do will do this for you, but I just did it so we wouldn't have to wait on it. It takes a while. There's a lot of submodules in this repo. If you look under external, like look how many. And then some of these have more submodules underneath them, like mono, for example, has plenty more. LLVM has plenty more. So, but yeah, so all I've done so far is clone this to my machine and got the submodules downloaded. So from here, if you've never done this before, you're gonna have to install some things on your machine, and some of this you might have it already. Like if you have Xcode, you're gonna have some of this stuff. Let's just kind of look at the list. The first thing you should go ahead and get is Homebrew. It's kind of like a package manager for Mac. Like if you've used Ubuntu, it's kind of the Mac version of some of their package managers. But this lets you run brew, install, and then the name of some package. So to get the list of what you need, once you have Homebrew, on this page here, here's the big list. So you can literally just copy this list and paste it in a terminal.
Sorry, Jonathan.
Siri's talking to me. That's funny. I'll just power off my phone. But it'll install one of each of these one by one. And if you miss one, the build should get it for you, but it's probably a little easier to just do it yourself and make sure if there's something goes wrong, you can, like, it's not an issue with Xamarin.Android, it's something else, you know. The other things, let's go to the very top. So you need, I would recommend just getting the latest Visual Studio for Mac with Xamarin.Android. You'll have the right mono. It'll get Java. It'll get the Android SDK. But if you have some of these things, you might just look at this documentation, figure out what you're missing. So next step, let's look at the repo a little bit. So I've just opened the make file in Visual Studio Code, and there's a lot of stuff in here, but the two make steps will run are all, which is the default one. If you just leave it type make, that's what it'll do. And then prepare. And prepare is kind of like preparing your system for building Xamarin.Android. So the first thing, let me clear this. If we run make prepare, it's running some Msbuild targets that are going to configure things. And so you see down there, it's downloading a zip file. Well, to speed up the build, they've set this up. Basically, they have a hash of your version of, if we look in the URL, version of libzip, LLVM, and mono, right? And they have a cached build of some of these things. Now, the reason they have this is if you think about Android, you have 5 ABIs, and so that's 5 different versions of mono. And then you have debug and release, and then they also things like the Android designer runs on Mac and Windows 64-bit. So those are 2 more. So 7 processor types, right? And the debug and release is that like 14? So they need 14 monos. It might be more than that. I don't know. I might be missing some. Well, on that, yeah. So you can imagine how long it would take to build all that stuff. So what this has done is just downloaded this zip, which is a lot quicker than building all those, and it's extracted it. And it's also made sure my system has all the things from Homebrew installed. So from here, we should be able to build, right? So all we have to do is type make, right? And this will run all. And if this works, we'll make some changes. Well, I'll show you how to test an app first. Then maybe we'll make some changes to like do something silly to show that we can actually make a change to Xamarin.Android. This might take a while too, but at least like lines are going. But like some of this stuff it has to build. You've got the mono Android DLL itself, mono droid, which is like all the C code, the glue code that makes mono work on Android. And you know, all this stuff like OpenTK, SQLite, and UnitLite. They've got everything in here. It's nice calming music now. Let's check on our build. Still going. I need to refresh my chat just to make sure it's working. Yeah. So it's building SQLite right now. This could be a potentially boring stream if all we're doing is watching stuff build. So maybe I need to tell stories or something. Yeah, this is now doing some ProGuard stuff. Yeah. This is LLVM. Now we're on the monodroid. Now it's building C# code. So this looks like, yeah, API merge. There's just a lot of crazy stuff going on in here that makes Xamarin.Android work. Now that I've seen it all, it's pretty crazy. I haven't looked at Xamarin iOS, but I imagine that this is a little more complicated. Just maybe a little, I don't know. You got Androids all crazy. You know, they've got their system for building apps with resources, assets, layouts, And then, yeah, it's just Android's complicated. So what I've been working on lately is seeing if I can get this build to work on Windows. And what that would do is let, A or CI could do some stuff it can't do right now. And then it could also, if any of you guys want to contribute to Xamarin.Android, you could do it on Windows. Is the thought. Um, which would be good. I do have the latest on master, so you see there it's building a version 8.0 API O Oreo. So this is another benefit if you want to try some stuff that is not out like in Visual Studio yet. This is a way you could do it. I wish I had timed this once to know how long it's going to take, because I would just tell a story. And hopefully my audio is working. I tried to do this a couple days ago, and what happens is my internal mic turns on. Just, I don't know why. I tried to do some research, but I can't find. I found people who have the same problem, but not a solution. So, what are we doing now? It's going quicker. Oh, OpenTK. So if we're at the letter O, well, it's not in alphabetical order. It's in dependency order. We should be getting there. Well, what's this doing? It's still, bundle. Hey, it did it. It took 6 minutes, 20 seconds. It's not too bad. Okay, so let's show what that actually did for us. If you look in the, I'm just gonna browse in Visual Studio Code, but I don't know if you can zoom Finder. I don't know. So in build debug, this is all the tools, things that need to happen, like during the build to bootstrap the build. Like, it's so complicated that it has to set things up to even build. And then in the debug folder here, we've actually built Xamarin.Android. So the bin, probably don't need to look at. Include, I mean, this is also like C stuff. In lib, this is where you'd want to look. There's two places: xbuild frameworks, which this is the same as if you look at your installation in Visual Studio, but by default we built. These are all the assemblies in xbuild frameworks. So like Java interop, system data, system net, system JSON, all those things. And then, this is the 8.0 API O target framework version. So if we had, there is a full build that will build all of these, but you probably don't want to do that. It just takes so long. You'd be better off just running make if you're trying to develop something. The xbuild directory is kind of where all the scripts and executables are. So things like that happen from the build system, but you would probably not ever call directly. Yeah, you probably don't want to go into this. But, so let's look. Let's go back to our page here. So let's look. They have a script called xabuild, which all it does is let you build a Xamarin.Android project using the Xamarin.Android you just built. So we don't want to build with Xamarin.Android on our system now. We have a custom one we just made. So we're just going to copy this command. They have a hello world sample in here. We'll just use that. Maybe we'll change something on that project. Who knows? So I'm going to run xabuild. This is going to sign it on their hello world sample. Hopefully it works. It should work. Oh, another thing I didn't mention, the build does download its own version of the Android SDK and the build tools and some other things. Oh, it's done already. But anyway, and it puts those in your home directory and Android tool chain and Android something else archives. So mine had already done that, so we didn't have to wait on that. So if you were doing this on a clean machine, these things I've just done might take even a little longer than what I showed. Because, oh, what's this awful music? United States Marine Band. Free music, guys. There we go. Sounds better. I'll see you, Jeff. So we just built an app. We need to deploy it. So the next command. I don't know if ADB's in my path. Yeah, it is, apparently. So I have an emulator running. Did we... Oh, this is interesting. It says no matching ABIs. Let's look at the APK. My emulator's x86. So let's show how to fix that. That's also why it only took 6 minutes to build. This is loud. It's not loud for you guys. Sounds like Radiohead, but this guy puts his music out for free. I don't know. It was in the YouTube free music, approved music folder that I got. So I keep getting off track here. So these are a bunch of Msbuild properties. This is configuration overrides.props.in. We're going to just copy this and let's just take off the .n. So this is going to build for every ABI. We need x86 for our emulator. And this is the same thing here. They also have Windows here. It's interesting that to get their Windows builds, they use, I'm gonna kind of translate a little, but called Mixie, MXE, and it's going to cross-compile from Windows, so they're compiling stuff for Windows on the Mac. And it's probably just a lot simpler to go that route. So all these properties here, I'm just making them build x86. And I'm only building for Mac. That's what this Darwin here says. So I'm going to run make again, and hopefully we'll get the x86 ABI. So that's interesting there that we only built for ARM, and so we can't deploy the x86 emulator. So if you wanted to build the whole thing, everything, you probably want all of these. Maybe take off the Windows one if you're on a Mac, because you don't care to build those if you're doing development. So any of them that say Win or Mixie. So this should be quicker than 6 minutes. Maybe like 3 minutes. Oh, did I get off track? I was talking about how it downloads the Android SDK. It's probably a good idea for them to do that, like in case stuff changes, makes their build reliable. And they know that they're built against a specific Android SDK. I don't know how often they change it. I'm still pretty much getting my feet wet with this stuff, and you can see why it would take a while to absorb everything going on in here. Did we hear this song already? I don't know. It's on shuffle. Oh, I might have missed this. Something might break here because see how it's saying 7.0. Yeah. It might still work fine. We'll find out. But this default file that this config overrides has API level 24 and v7.0 as the target framework version. Everything else in here was okay. So it might actually take the full 6 minutes. I need to tell a story. So maybe I should tell a story of how I got started. It's pretty crazy that I work for Microsoft from Kentucky. And I feel like only through the internet was I able to get to where it's just finished. Everything I know is from the internet, so if we get to another spot on a build, I'll talk more about that. But, so let's run that xabuild command and then look at what's in the APK. This will be quick. It's still ARM v7.a. Oh wait, Maybe the last time I tested this, I did it with an ARM emulator. Now that's a rebuild. Yeah. So we could start an ARM emulator, or I could try to figure this out. I don't know which is easier. Let's just look and see if it looks... Oh, maybe it's their sample project. Ah. Where was that sample? Samples Hello World. There's no solution. Well, I don't know if this will open in VS for Mac. Let's try it. I don't see even where it says what ABIs it is. So it says it's all 5. Let's look at the xabuild script. I've done this before, but something break. Well, let's see if I could plug in a device. That might have been what I did. I bet I plugged in a device. But you guys won't be able to see it. Let's just see if the documentation says. So by default, all 5 of these are probably checked. So all it does is run Msbuild and changes a bunch of directories to point at this custom build of Xamarin.Android. See, it's just changing mono Android tools directory. Well, I could plug in a phone. Let me do that. I have a nice standby. just gonna close the emulator and see if I can run the adb command. Something if the phone's doing something. Hold on. Oh, it didn't close. What? Is it really closed now? Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. So I have an app deployed. See if I can find it. Hello world. It's the same default template with you know what I mean. The one that you click the button and it adds up. So let's just jump through what happens when a Xamarin.Android app starts, and I'm gonna show according to what I know, which is I'm still getting into it, but hopefully this is good enough to get a high level. So they need to boot some stuff, boot mono before the app opens, because if you think about it, you can have an application class in C#, right? So they need to run code before the application class runs. So that seems a little crazy. How do you do that? It might actually be easier for me to find some of these files on GitHub. Let's do that. Because I know the hotkey. Well, it's not just P. So they're using a thing called a package manager. Here it is. Here it is. This lets you run code before the application in an Android app. So this gets called when the app starts up, and this is Java code that they've written to hook this up. And this calls into runtime init, right? So this is JNI. This is actually calling into a C function from Java. So if this is the very first thing that happens in a Xamarin.Android app, is all this stuff, right? Let's go find the next C function. So let's find runtime.java. These are all the JNI methods. Why does this keep popping up? Go away. It's telling me I don't have something set up for Java. So they're calling init, right? So how do you find that? Well, in C you define a function named mono_Android runtime init. And I'm pretty sure that that's in monodroid glue.c. It's like, what was it? Time. That's not it, that's a different one. It might be in another file. Let's search for it. Oh, we might have to search on the main repo. That's fine. A here and a C. I should have refreshed myself on this before I started going through, trying to find where this thing is. It should just be called runtime underscore. Maybe it wants the casing here. Oh, it probably wants the whole word in GitHub. So let's do a search. That's it. Found it. Well. Yeah. That's the header. Oh, it is right here. Here it is. I thought I searched. Maybe I misspelled something. I thought I searched in this file. Android glue. Anyway. So, from the package manager. Let's try to keep them open. It calls into runtime init. This JNI setup here, this word native, tells Java that you're calling into C. And then C, you just have to have a function with this crazy export, and it'll be able to find it. This is where things get hairy. This is C. But what this is going to do is the same stuff. Like if you were going to try to embed mono in a C program on another platform, that's what this is going to do. So if you ever look, there's a mono embedding page, and this is not really anything to do with embedinator. They had this page a long time ago. Zoom in a little bit. So you can see this is the code that you would use in a C program to load up mono and run C# code. So this is what they're doing. So you create a mono domain, mono jit init, mono domain assembly open. And what this would do is open a .NET assembly and just basically run it like you would run Bootstrap it. Instead of running mono and then your exe on a Mac, you could have another program that would do this stuff, and you could just run that program and not have to use the mono command. So that's what they've set up here. Of course, there's lots of crazy things in here. For embedinator, this music's loud. I had to change one thing in here. Maybe I can just find the code I changed. It's like the search is not working. Oh, it's prefix. Is it not Android glue? Might be here. Yeah, it's like this search box doesn't work. What's going on? Because I'll go to this menu, I bet it'll work. It's just, this is searching the whole file system. I don't know. Oh, assembly prefix. Assemblies. Anyway. So one thing in Betinator I had to do, by default when you look in APK, like I was looking over here, all the .NET assemblies are in a directory that's assemblies at the root of the APK. And that's very custom, like a normal Android app doesn't have random folders with extra files in them. And I think it does make sense to do that for Xamarin apps. Because this is something non-standard. We have these extra files that are not Android assets and they're not Android resources. And so what we did is, for Embedinator, you can't just have a random folder in an AAR file. And so we had to move it to assets assemblies. So we have a setting here, set assemblies prefix, that we call from Embedinator. And we call it to change that path, and then it looks for assemblies in a different directory within an APK. So let's go back. Where was that called? Get assemblies prefix. So what we could do here is just change some code to show that we maybe really built Xamarin.Android. Let's just like print out a message that says something like, let's log an error. I'm just gonna copy some code here. So we're gonna log something that says like woot assembly loading, and then we're gonna put, why is there a, I don't know what's going on there. Why is there slash in? Do you need a slash in at the end? Yeah. So this is the C equivalent of Android util log fatal or error, whatever. See how stuff is so different. Yeah, I guess you had to put a slash in. So we want current entry name. Now, I have no idea what I'm doing, so. Let's also maybe change C# code at the same time. What's something funny we could do there? Let's change like Java-lang object or something. Well, but okay, that's not different. What if we change that activity class or something like that? Oh, wrong place. Stop. How do you stop this search? Yeah. So let's make a constructor. Wait, was this the only activity? CS? I think it is. Let's just do like, could open this in Visual Studio. You make that work? Hey, I changed it. Alright, let's build. We're just showing that we can change something, and then it actually see the change when I deploy the app. Did this take a long time? Yeah. See, we changed one C file and one C# file. I should have known we're. Well, we could. It makes sense that there'd be more than one. There's already a constructor somewhere. In fact, this is partial. Yeah, like where's all the other constructors? Oh, I could have probably checked case. What is up with this search thing? It doesn't work. Oh, I don't want to mess with this. This should work. Maybe it doesn't like quotes. We need a space and a. Well, that's definitely not it. Is it? Yeah, this is something else. Yeah, this is something else too. So, during the build, I bet those other methods get generated from the Java. That's why this is partial. So what we could do, what if we did run on UI thread? Like we just change that. Right line. Run on baby. Yeah. Well, let's build them. Let's go to that sample app. And just call run on UI thread. We don't have to even do anything. We just want to see run on UI thread, baby. And we should also see woot for each assembly. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So I went to a state university in Kentucky called Western Kentucky University. And their computer science department was okay, you know, did alright. Especially for Kentucky, it was good, you know. But I got a full scholarship to anywhere in Kentucky. Maybe I should have gone to UK, but it worked out. Because right after college, I started working at a local company called HitSense. And they were started by two twins in high school. They dropped out of college maybe a couple years in and started this internet company. And when they hired me, I started working on a project called Utopia. self-scan, and they had partnered with a company that builds like grocery store metal lanes that cashiers work out at, check out stuff at. And so they had the idea to build their own self-scan software. And so they were gonna get all the hardware figured out and the metal, and they got Hitsense to develop the software. And so that was my first real coding. Like in school, I didn't learn anything compared to what I learned working on that project. So I'll come back to that story. May not even finish it this stream. Let's see. Alright, we're going to build it again. Building the C# project. But anyway, we built, the first version was in WinForms, and all the people on the team were like me, right out of college. And it was terrible. If I looked at that code base now, I'd be horrified, I'm sure. Wait, did it do it? I'm just gonna go and install it. It's still there. Did it open VS for Mac? I just need to see like a log. I'm just gonna open IDE because I feel like it's maybe a wow. I gotta be able to zoom it for you guys. Let's open VS for Mac because I know I can zoom the log on it. I'm pretty sure. Kill this thing. I'll go ahead and open it and see if it works. Is there clear? Clears the filter. Ah! I haven't launched anything. Okay. So we're gonna find out if this stuff works. So much stuff. It should be an error, right? So I'm not seeing our stuff. I don't see our activity thing either, though. Of course, I did console write line. Let's just paste this in here. We can search it. You guys probably can't see what I'm looking at anyway. So Woot's not in there. Yeah, it didn't have either thing. So should have worked. Let's see what the timestamp on this file is. 9. Yeah. What we could do is let's do a clean. Build this. Yeah, this seems like it's we could look up ADB. What is it installing? Oh, so you can just say uninstall. Yeah, I don't care to lose all of whatever. But you gotta know the package name. Oh, that was a lot quicker than me clicking on the UI. So we're gonna get. Let me zoom this in too. What? You can't zoom it? Maybe I should have done an Android Studio. Although I don't know if it can zoom the log either. We'll just paste it over here. Yeah, I'm not seeing my change. Well, the other thing we could do is clean a directory, and I can finish my story. I'll try that. If that doesn't work, I'll have to do a part 2 to this. I'm gonna just wipe out my bin directory. Well, let's make sure I have changes right. Yeah, that looks like what we want there. So I'm just gonna clean my bin directory. Run make again. It's gonna take a while. Well, I can type make faster and hit up. This is good. I have some questions for some people on my team. Make sure I understand everything. I'm sure this is interesting for anyone who's wanting to look deeper into Xamarin.Android. A lot of this stuff I kind of figured out on my own, like trying to work on Inventinator, but I had help. So back to my story. Utopia self-scan. Um, so our first version was WinForms, and we had to have some animations. And self-checkout software needs to show them what to do. This is back in like 2006 when self-scans were pretty new and people didn't know how to use them. So we had a Flash animator make animations, and we used some ActiveX control to put those in the WinForms app. And anyway, it wasn't that great. But what happened right after that first prototype was that WPF came out. So we kind of redid the UI in WPF, learned WPF. Those animations we just kind of wrote in XAML, like animate from here to here, this time, fade out, did exactly everything we wanted. And think about all the pieces in a self-checkout lane, right? There's a scanner, there's a credit card machine, there's a machine that shoots out money, a machine that takes money, a machine that shoots out coins. So yeah, bills and coins, in and out. Bills, in and out. There's a weight scale. Ours also had lights on the top, so like if you scan a bottle of beer, they had to approve you. So lights would blink orange or red if they need to come look at the person. It would blink red if something was broke, like you're out of paper on the printer, receipt printer. That's done. We should also, let's clean the samples hello world. Yeah, so we're deleting the bin of those. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna give up, say, hey, I'm gonna figure this out and tell you guys how to do it. I broke something. Oh, I bet when I was running make, I bet it was printing an error. I didn't see it. Like, I bet that's what the whole problem is. I bet something here. There's something wrong here, probably. Let's just look at it. Current entry name is this character array. Feels like it'd be right. So that other error. How's that file missing? Yeah, I definitely feel like this. So I'm going to manually build this is the Android project. So they're using Msbuild to compile C library, which is just kind of cool, but maybe we'll see the error here. Whoa! Why is it downloading that bundle? cleared the bin directory. I didn't run make prepare probably. That's why. Well, didn't it pause on this for a while? I thought it did. Well, this is how complicated this thing is. I'll have to call it quits. It's getting late. Yeah, so back on the self-scan thing. Huh? Maybe I won't have to tell a story. But that's really, it was like boot camp. It was like, learn to code in general. Learn to do this complicated thing. And it was amazing that we even got it to work, I think. So... yeah, we're still missing stuff here. We didn't have unit tests. At one point we did have automated builds on that project. Because we had a system to update the self-scans remotely. So when they would start up, they would have a version, and they would go to some server, check the version, and then download a zip file and unzip, basically. Very sophisticated. But we did have a build system. We did not have unit tests, which is kind of scary. But this file is still not here. I'm gonna try commenting out the C code. There should be libmonodroid.so. Why is this not printing an error? Maybe it is, I'm just not seeing it.
What we do here is go back.
Well, let's like just type. Where was the code that I just put? It's like right here. Right here. Let's put something that's obviously not valid. Well, if I comment this, it's just not copying it to the output. Still doesn't look like it's there. Well, this was a good... I've done all this before. It's always something goes wrong live. And hey, Prep Dragon. Working on Xamarin.Android. Uh, I'm just building it from source, and I've made some changes to it, but I'm not seeing those changes when I run the app. Um, yeah, well, let's try that xabuild command, see if it errors the same way. I mean, that file is missing. But why was it there a minute ago? What if I just move my props file to... Yeah, like we don't actually need these props. Because, yeah. So, let's put my change back in. Wait on the build again. So Utopia self-scan. As you can imagine, it's not a huge hit now. At one time, it was in maybe 25 grocery stores. It was in, if you've heard of Houchins or IGA Crossroads, it was in Strachan Van Til. There's a small chain in Nebraska called B&R Stores. So we definitely got it out there and it worked. But whatever happened, the project kind of, like, our partner, we kind of separated ways, and I started working on other stuff. And what happened was, you know, the iPhone came out, and it made a lot more sense for the desktop development department at HitSense to work on mobile, because this is a huge, big new thing. Yeah. And so we started writing. Well, we took executives just messed with this. Like, oh, this is, you know, because at the time it was just going to be iPhone only to start. Trying to think what year this was. Maybe 2011. Yeah. And then we saw this thing called MonoTouch, and we knew C# and we're like, oh, this makes more sense. So we built some apps with it, and that's kind of what became. It's how I got into Xamarin mobile development. We've built a lot of apps since then. Hey, this is make. Alright, is this gonna work? Yeah, I think it's working. So that configuration override props, as I thought, I think it did break it because it changed the Android API level. Alright. There's our uninstall command in here. Install. Device log. Let's clear it. Let's launch the app. Oh goodness. Woot is in here. We did it. Alright, so the whole problem was that we messed with that config override props and we didn't set the Android API level right, or it was like set API 24 and 7.0. Probably needs to say 26 and 8.0 now. Today, well, I saw a PR today where my boss was changing the letter O to say Oreo, because Oreo, they announced it was called Oreo today for the Eclipse. So we added a C code to print the word woot assembly loading and the name of the assembly here, which is assembly's hello world. What other thing was run on? Yeah. So we changed the run on UI thread method to print run on UI thread baby. So we changed Xamarin.Android C code and C# code. And we deployed an app. Seeing the app on the phone doesn't matter. I mean, I kind of found that when you're working on this stuff, you don't really need to run the app much. It's just all like command line and black text. You're in the matrix. It's not, I mean, looking at this app doesn't really matter. So you can imagine what it would take to build a feature. So as I get into this stuff more, I'll do more videos on this, and maybe I'll learn more to be able to express it to you guys. Here's this terrible music again. So when I get Windows working, I want to show how to do this on Windows. It's going to be a lot simpler. Well, I say a lot simpler. You'll probably run Msbuild, and that's it. Well, in doing that, I'll probably simplify Mac a little bit too. Oh, let's just open the solution in Visual Studio to show what that looks like. So there is a Xamarin.Android solution file, but any of those projects that are they're .md proj, they're just custom msbuild projects. They don't load, right? Because they're just custom, like they're building C libraries with them. See, here's what we got, this kind of stuff. But you can see, here's that monodroid one we built. Well, let's zoom in. I've cleared the hotkey for this. One more. So the C library for monodroid, that's this right here, and you can't see the files because it's custom. But let's say you wanted to look at that activity code we were looking at. There's a lot of activity. Is it not loaded in here? I would think it would be. It's this X one. That's why I use VS Code for that. But so, like, if you wanted to look at the Msbuild tasks that happen, these are in here. These are the ones that happen in within VS under this task folder. So, like, here's the apt. I have to zoom it.
Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school.
Let's kick it old school.
So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby. Baby.
So
Yeah.
maybe next time I need to show like actually changing something. And what it takes to do that. Or I could show on Windows. We'll see how it goes. But I think I'm gonna call it quits for now and play Hearthstone or something. Thanks, guys.